127. I am your host, Lauren Gray, and it is a very special week, as always, Veterans Day this week. Thank you to all those that served, past and present, and we appreciate very much your service, sincerely and deeply. It's not just a stating or a statement to that, and we had the chance to acknowledge that. I had a joyful time going to a local veterans parade here in Southwest Florida, Cape Coral. Great parade, great turnout. And always it's a moving opportunity to reflect and think about all the service and the sacrifices that are made by our men and women in uniform over the generations. And so for that end, I wish to thank everyone joining us today. It is, of course, rolling into November, being now the second week. And with that is even more of a concern and discussion that I would like to bring up in today's topic. Remember, 1 hour, one topic, we try to keep this into. And that is how to have a happy holiday season like no other. Why I added the last part, like no other, because I truly, genuinely believe we are about to experience a holiday season literally like no other. We had a similar circumstance happen this past summer, albeit brief because of the resurgence of the pandemic with the Delta variant. And that was a summer like no other in all circumstances. When I say no other, it doesn't mean that we didn't have greater business than we ever had before. In some circumstances, that was true, but it was really about the unpredictability and uncertainty of what it is to expect and the ability to service and provide service and product and quality for the demand that was there. We went into the summer as a normal business demand swell of summer, where we have the summer drive business based on the regionality of your own operation. And we had it multiplied by X factor. If you had people coming to your market for the demand for your market, it was beyond any level of previous demand recorded. And so that created a skewing of data usability for us. We didn't know what to expect and anticipate. For those places that pre-sold rooms at a more than affordable rate compared to what they usually historically had sold in times past, they were rewarded with an influx of people that were so happy they got a great deal. And then as time went forward and you were able to open up inventory and offer higher and higher rates, and revenue management teams went over and said, well, let's raise the rate until they don't want to spend it. And nobody seemed to stop them until they hit the bumper that said, we can't raise the rate any higher than this legally, because that's the rate on the back of our door that we can charge at maximum rate. And people were still willing to pay it, even with the reduced services and product. One of the things about things that happened in summer was we also did not provide a level of service in general. And I say this general because I'm sure many properties succeeded and some attempted to succeed. But in general, most did not live up to the level of expectations and severely damaged their reputation with their guests because of the inefficiencies, inequalities, and shortcomings that they were not able to provide, whether from the legalities of not having outlets opened to the logistics of not having people to actually staff them. And that goes into the addition of the changes in dynamics of the level of housekeeping and amenities and services that were being offered. Yet the rate was not commensurate with what that was there. But the demand surge was there. The swell, the tsunami of demand was there. Well, translate that entire conversation into what I think will be happening in different ways for our holiday season here in just a few days. Our first experience truly, genuinely will be happening. We just went through Halloween, which is not a travel-driven holiday. It is a kickoff holiday to the seasonality of holidays, but we are now getting into our first real legitimate travel-based holiday demand cycle, Thanksgiving. And as I've had discussions with many of my clients, and in general, you see it in the news, I'm not here to repeat a lot of news articles, although I'd be happy to refer to some of them in our dialogue today, is the proposition that the impact demand for holiday travel is up to pre-COVID level already, and in the sense of anticipation of demand, within 5% for flight, I think is what it is. But the interesting aspect of that I would like to talk about in our show today is the change in the demand types. Let's just take Thanksgiving, and I'm speaking in generalities because I'm talking about industry, so therefore we're talking about industry generalities. Normally, you have the pre-Thanksgiving travel boom. You have two major components of that. Those that are flying and those that are driving or find ground means to travel. That includes trains, buses, and those have their own economic strata to them. But flights is usually the big measure that you see in the news so very often as to the amount of people trying to fly and travel and so forth. And what we're looking at here is that usually happens before Thanksgiving by 48 hours. Flying to get there so that on Thanksgiving, the day of thanks, the family's together. Then usually you have the quintessential Black Friday, which has historically up to this point been really not the same. It had been diluted over time by retail giants. That things started shortly after, in August almost, after the school season sales went on effect. You started seeing early Black Friday deals. You saw Amazon Prime days and so forth. Late summer, Christmas and summer was in far back as July, and the retail outlets, the brick and mortar ones that were still trying to get their fair share of market, were opening up through Thanksgiving. It was no longer a Friday wait until midnight event. It was like, you can go into the store on Thanksgiving and start getting Black Friday deals. It was by name only. And of course, the pandemic shifted that in multiple ways. One is our online purchase presence was there, and the brick and mortars have suffered. And we've seen many large retail outlets not survive this. And those that have survived it, they're lucky to be in black ink, so to speak, for a lot of their doings. And they've certainly downsized and changed the logistics and their overheads and so forth to maintain liquidity during this transition of how our culture buys things. So going back to our Thanksgiving, historically, 48 hours, sometimes 72 hours, depending upon flights and availabilities and destinations, of people making the exodus to their families to have Thanksgiving. Then they would enjoy the Thanksgiving day together, and they'd most likely spend a Friday and then as some aspect of Saturday before trying to transition back home to begin the next phase of the holiday season. And that was either by flights going home on Sundays, flights going home on Mondays, or driving experiences that began on Saturdays or Sundays or Mondays to make it back home, to get back to work for the amount of work that you have to do before you get to take your next holiday break over Christmas, should you be so fortunate to have time off during the holidays. How I think it's going to be different this year. I think first, without those that took advantage of travel in the summer, for even if they did or didn't, for those who didn't, that's use them as an example in case, is the earnest belief that they're probably just not going to stay for 2 or 3 days. They're going to make this a destination event. They're going to stay for 5 days or more. The length of stay is the key element of saying is going to be, I think, is different for the Thanksgiving transition here coming up. I think people are going to use this as an exercise and effort of saying, if I'm going to go to grandma's house or family XYZ house, we're going to spend a few days. Now that creates logistic questions. Well, we all can't pile into grandma's house for 5 days. We're going to beat each other up. Or there's just not enough floor space for us all to sleep in, or whatever it is, the logistics come into play. Well, let's go find hotels. So the duration of stay at these hotels, so that you don't stumble over each other at the house, that it's really a chance to get together. Maybe a lot of families don't want to spend that kind of quality, intimate time for multiple days in a row. As you used to say, in-laws visiting or family visiting was a lot like having fresh seafood. After 3 to 4 days, something began to smell. So with that in mind, the idea that hotels will have length of stay increases beyond the 48 to 72 hour normal stay, they might be into the 4 or 5 day or night stays because people are willing to stay longer, make it more of an adventure. With that adventure comes other logistics in our current hotel hospitality holiday timeframe. And that is, we have been told now for several weeks that inventory availability, supply chain stuff, and deliverability are in question. They just made the comment that out-of-stock notifications, Amazon Cloud out-of-stock notifications have increased 450% plus just in the past 2 weeks, week over week. So we're finding out that a lot of the things that we were going to purchase aren't available. Then on top of that, we've already been warned by FedEx and UPS and DHL and the United States Postal Service, has downscaled their ability to deliver anyway in general, that there is going to be a hard-pressed issue for them to actually deliver on a guaranteed timeline. that you might be lucky to get the deliveries prior to holiday events. To buy early. If it's available, buy it. Buy it for whatever price you can find it. And get it delivered if you need it delivered as soon as you can go over and get it scheduled, because it's going to take extra time to get it there. So those are some realities that are going on. We also know that these things are existing in lots of things, and the cost of things have gone up. All the retail components values. So we also have been told that for value of quality of life for both companies that are having a hard time finding people to work with them, hiring people, they've made concessions. Before it was like, hey, you're in retail, and Black Friday is a given. You're temporary help, or you're low on the totem pole. You're working the crappiest of the shifts when we need you because you just got recently hired. Now it's like, you know what? We're closed Thanksgiving, and we'll open at a designated time on Black Friday for us to run legitimate Black Friday specials that aren't really special anymore in some ways. They already been told that don't expect discounts on things. I personally have looked at it and watched things that I'm interested in purchasing. I've seen that the prices have actually gone up right now. Now, that might be a precursor to offering them back down to what they were prior to being elevated. So it is a perceived sale or value. But in general, we're being told everything costs more. Be lucky it's there, and don't bank on getting it delivered even if you do it. And by the way, have a happy holiday. So these are influencing factors for us for hospitality. Why? Because it's changing what people are expecting for their holiday travel. It's changing what they're going to do during their holiday travel. And it's changing how much it's going to cost for them to travel for the holidays and what they value in doing. I think we are going to have records set on multiple fronts in multiple ways for different things, from length of stays to ADRs, to additionally how much money is being spent for holidays, not just from a retail component, but from a family cost component of getting there and getting from. That trip that was uncomfortably too far before, now because of not having seen those family members for a year, 2 years maybe, now it's worth the trip. It is necessary to do if they feel safe and healthy. And for those that have lost, for so many of those above us who have lost friends and family, that this is a reminder of the importance of why we do these things during these holidays, why we make the effort to go see family. So I think the intensity and interest is at an all-time level that has never been seen in our modern history. The value proposition of it, and the need to do it, and the budgeting perspective of, well, I know it's something that is more than we would normally have thought to spend, and we're going to go farther than we thought we would have to go. But if for all those reasons we just talked about, it's worth having to do. So for that reason, I believe we're going to have a holiday like no other. I think we're going to see length of stays for people once they get there. I think they're going to find reasons to do things together while they're there. They go beyond just the immediate family they've come to visit, but to old friends they may have grown up with, to seeing old places they remember when they grew there, perhaps if that's what they did. Retail is going to have a different perspective. I think local artists have a huge opportunity to sell well past what they used to do historically, because where you could just buy it on Amazon or buy it out of a big box or have it delivered from a big box or something. Now it's a matter of we don't have it, and we don't know when we're going to have it. And we don't know when we can ship to you, even if we did have it. Wow. But meanwhile, I'm in a brick and mortar store, a local artist store, candle maker, clothing maker, whatever, and it's sitting right in front of me. And the size that I need is right on the rack. Let me buy this now because it's here now and I can put it in the box. Again, how does this all relate to hospitality? Let me wrap this back up with a bow. Travel is a great gift. We know that 2022, barring, knocking on wood, any additional tragedies associated with pandemic surge, we're going to see a lot of people go for those lists of things that they wanted to do that they didn't do prior to COVID, that COVID reminded them that they need to do while they still can. We're going to see travel at a scale of demand next year that I believe will be record setting in many different ways. Not everybody will bend, not the entire ocean will rise for all of this, but certain places will, based on the interest of what it is that the people are wanting to travel for. I think that there's going to be different demands for different ways and different expediencies for doom and different durabilities of time. going to the holiday function of all this, I think people are going to travel, stay longer, do more, spend more, and have a diversity of what they're doing. And as a hotelier, we should be able to provide the level of service truthfully that we can at a rate that we can comfortably offer and ask for what it is that we can give them. And one of them is the gift of travel. Not just what we do for our Thanksgiving holiday time and what we're offering for rates and dates. If you're not already sold out for Thanksgiving for your demand and market, something's wrong. The second is, what is it that you can offer people that are looking for? Because instead of buying a family member a tangible item because you bought it at Amazon and you had it shipped and you had it already prepackaged, and you just stuck your card on it and put it under the tree for Christmas or whatever, showing the intensity of your emotions over to those people, giving a gift that you feel is truly giving, is going to be a unique reemergence of what the holiday season means, I think. And so because of that, you're going to have meaningful gifts. And honestly, travel is something that isn't out of stock, and it's not off of, and that's not on a shelf. It is something you can give. You can give your grandparents or your parents or your brothers or your sisters, your nieces, your nephews, whatever it is, the gift of travel. Says, you know what? I known you've always wanted to go to Vancouver. So I found this amazing little hotel and I bought you a 2-night stay there, and it includes this, and here's the gift card. Or better yet, here's a monetary value for this hotel for you to go and stay there. And it should cover you for at least the couple of days that I intended it to be for what it is you wanted to do. Now you get to live your Vancouver adventure, or your Santa Barbara adventure, or your Florida Keys adventure, insert name of destination. But your hotel should be offering this availability for acquisition and purchase. You're not trying to be the airlines and saying, here's my free flight voucher, and here's my free food voucher at the local restaurant, here's my free hotel voucher on top of it. Control what it is you can control. Now, here's the logistics issues of this. Can your property management system, your PMS, handle transactions with other systems and platforms? Most likely not, but most likely yes in some of them. And if your brand, you have other considerations you have to worry about. But if you're not already offering gift certificates to your property, you need to be doing this now, and you need to be creating ad campaigns for them now to present the opportunity of what it is to offer the gift of travel with you, and make it worthwhile. Make it worthwhile for the person purchasing it, or make it worthwhile for the person it's being given to. And what I mean by this, well, we've seen them all the time, now more so than ever. Think about them. For every $250 you buy, you get a $50 free additional gift card on top of it that you get to either keep yourself or add it to the pile that you're giving out of the $250, and on and on and on. You know that from your ADR, and the best way to calculate it is figure your average length of stay that you're looking at currently, that you anticipate, whether it's a 3-day or 2.5 day or whatever it is, say 3 nights. What is your ADR? That would be a quintessential good sweet spot cumulatively to say for $750 or for $500. This is on average would cover you for 2 to 3 days. Here's the advantage conversation with gift certificates. 1, again, never out of stock, never not on the shelf. 2, it can be personalized in the perception that you're giving the gift of travel to somebody who's probably most likely than not wanting to travel there, and that is the perfect gift for them. Here, this is to us, to you for this. 3, you're creating a unique relationship with 2 new people. 1, the person that purchased it, whether they were a previous guest or whether they discovered you and thought you'd be the perfect solution for the family. You now have a direct communication because of the transaction with them. And 2, to the person that they bought it for. You now have a direct and personal relationship with them because they're the ones that are going to be redeeming the purchase with you. You get the cash flow immediate, and there's rules and guidelines as to how it's handled in different areas of the country and in different countries. So make sure you're familiar with how you are responsible for this handling of cash on these purchases of gift cards. But now you have 2 names in a coffer, purchaser and receiver, so that you can create the fulfillment for them. Now you have a relationship that you can breed with them. You can offer, in future tense, higher value redemption. Hey, for all those that have gift cards, will redeem your card, should you choose it for certain dates, at a 10% higher value, 15% higher value, 25% higher value if you stay with us. Oh, on these dates that we're saying, if you redeem them now, if you book now for those dates, we'll give you extra value for them. These could be dates that you have harder to sell, and it gives you a chance to fill in some of your gap points in future tents. You also have the ability to incentivize them to acquire other things by saying, hey, by the way, if you are a gift person, we'll give you 20% off of a pre-purchase for our restaurant. So instead of $100 pre-purchase food at our restaurant, we'll give you, for every $100 you buy, $20 or $25 higher value for it. So your $100 gift certificate you're buying to use, a voucher to use in our restaurant, is worth $125. You give these value incentives for them to expand what they're going to do with you, which increases your in-house capture. This goes for your spas, your golfing, your retail amenities, whatever it is that you offer in addition to just room services, you can offer this as well. You also can do things with gift certificate platforms like this to incentivize the purchases of amenities on top of them. Like, hey, by the way, we bought this gift card for mom and dad to go to this hotel. You now, as a family member, can say, well, I want them to, when they get there, to have champagne and strawberries in their room, chocolate dipped strawberries. And they can go into your website and add or purchase something that says, when these people arrive, I want this in their room, and say it's from, cousin Louie. Okay. You can do things like that if you have that retail engagement component for your hotel, that there's value enhancements to this. You can also do this as a pre-sell up of saying, hey, you're coming in and you're redeeming your gift card. That's great. For an extra X dollars, we can go from the regular king's room to a king's suite, and we can give it to you for this reduced cost because you're coming in redeeming a gift card. There's so many value propositions of creating gift cards, and these are large number volumes of dollars that can be generated for you by using gift cards in your strategy for holidays. Now, I would be first, and we've said this on our podcast many weeks ago, as a precursor to this time of year, to begin your gift certificate program marketing. You need to make sure people are aware that you have these programs in place. You need to educate them on how to use it because you have skepticism. I've run them as simple as giving them a portal to put the payment information on and asking for the information of who receives the card. And then the hotel goes in, retrieves the credit card information, charges no card present, eats that cost really, and then has to create the fulfillment, which might be a piece of paper nicely embossed with your logo, with the perfunctory requirements to validate, like you might have a sequential number printer on the bottom of the page, certain certificate or impression on the paper to validate that somebody can't duplicate this and scam you. And then that gets sent out. I've had them done that way. I've also had them where there's platforms like Acru. We've talked about that on the podcast, where you can go in and your PMS system handles this, much like you can either have a legitimate credit card or your phone with a QR code can facilitate the transactions right there on your PMS system. So the front desk agent can literally go over and scan the card that is your gift card and apply it to your guest folio kind of stuff. There is different scalabilities of how to handle gift cards, from as simple as the one I mentioned with paper and ink, all the way up to a nice PMS integrated platform that handles it with interactive and digital. So as soon as it's bought for a person, it can be sent to the person, or you can put it into some sort of, you can have it where you can send a card that they can use as a gift card, or you can send the card for them that they can send that to. And no, the stigma of, well, I got a gift card, why couldn't they give me a better personalized present? Travel is as personal of a present as you can create. If you know that they want to go to the destination you bought them the credit card or the gift card for, then that means you've thought of them so much that rather than burden them with what you thought was the best item, you took what they most wanted to do and you contributed to that and allowed them to go over and do something. I've often considered the best gift is the one that I would want, but wouldn't buy for myself, but somebody else got it for me. I thought that was one of the nicest gifts I ever get, is from people that do that. So travel is a great gift. Travel is the opportunity to give something to somebody that has been wanting to do that, especially most universally this past year and a half, what will be soon 2 years going into next year, of us having to deal with the pandemic and its impact on our society. So this gives you a chance to make that value happen. That isn't about filling you up for Thanksgiving. That's not filling you up for Christmas or Hanukkah or New Year's. It's about taking the opportunity of the family focus and friends focus and saying, how can I give a product that people are wanting to have? And this goes beyond your market strategy for filling up your occupancies per day. This is about selling you as a brand and your product at all times when people are most interested in coming to you. And as I pointed out with its usability, about how to sell yourself to when you're least wanted to become to, but giving the incentives to people to say, you know what, I want to just go. I know it's not the prime time to go see this place, but you know what? They're going to give me an extra 25% value. It makes it even more affordable. It's a gift card that was given to us, so it's already something that's easier for us to get to. The flight costs are less or the drive costs are less. Let's go see this place. Let's go there and do this stuff. And we know that we all have alternate seasonalities to our business cycles, so you can take advantage of that with that. So gift certificates in relationship to holidays is one of the bigger things that you can do, not just for current business where people buy it and use it right away, but for future tense value. Plus the real value is the CRM relationship of the purchaser and the person that's being presented the gift. So other things for holidays, and more particularly this holidays. A lot of times hotels don't go into variations of what they can do. And I mean by flash sales, auctions, progressive communication. Let's explain all of those. So flash sales. We're only offering this for a certain period of time. Black Friday. There you go. It's the opportunity to say that we have this availability of product for a limited opportunity, and we're promoting the fact that if you come join us when we're offering this, you're going to find the incredible value for having made the effort to do so. Most people, that's not even fair to say, a lot of people are between two camps. The camp of those that have already decided what they wanted to get for people and have already researched where to find it and have already begun that process so that they wait for the opportunity to think this is the best opportunity, best deal they're going to have for this. And then the others that wait like for a starting line that says, as of now, I'm looking. As of now, I'm going to start looking. And most of that hinges upon the mentality of what Black Friday represents this time of year. And that Black Friday mentality is, at this stage of the game, we're about to offer you what we say is our best deals. We all know that 80% of retail happens during the holiday season. That's a rough number that always plays in our head. We, at the best, can say that, but we've been told that retail runs the majority of their sales at this time of year. And so they incentivize us to purchase now by giving us what we are told are the best deals available, which usually coincide with a Black Friday starting point. We know that that's been diluted over the years. We know that our current year right now, 2021, there's a mixture of perception. There is the value proposition that retail is going back to a mindset of selling what they have available now, but teasing you with what possibly could be better sales later come Black Friday going forward, because we know sales keep going after that. The other is the balance of quality of life. A lot of retail outlets are trying to go back to the, no, we're not open during Thanksgiving. We're going to wait, give quality to our staff, and wait for this event to happen on Friday. Hospitality follows retail. The reason why I'm talking about retail marketing on a hospitality marketing live show is because hospitality patterns a lot of its ebbs and flows, according to, at this time of year, to the same mindset of, am I getting the best deal now or am I getting the best deal later? Now, one thing about us is, since it's not an actual tangible product that's sitting on a shelf or on our desk after we bought it, is it's a perishable product, is if we buy it with the condition that we can cancel it, if we think it's a good deal now, we can buy it. And then if it isn't, and there's a better deal later, we can cancel it and buy the better deal. We also know that, and most hotels will offer one or the other as time goes forward. They're not going to play their hand early and then have you not get it in again later. And by the same token, they're not going to go over and not give you a deal that doesn't incentivize until you buy later. Most hotels want you to buy now. Most hotels want you to have that decision made earlier rather than later. They don't want the last minute. That creates logistics for everyone. So with holidays going into flash sales, auctions are, and in comparison to flash sales, auctions are ones that says at a certain time, we're going to open up that this is what the value of this is. And if you want to, you can bid on what you'd be willing to pay for it below the price that we said that it's worth. Like, so all-inclusive trip to such and such for 3 days, including this, and this is worth $5,000. Opening bid is $1,500. Okay. And there's a point where if it's below a certain minimum, then it doesn't have to be enforced. But usually you're hoping that it goes slowly up and you get a great value that you were spent a lot less than what the total value is by keeping the bids relatively low. The fun part of auctions are that usually you get into this mindset of must win, and the prices sometimes exceed the value proposition is presented. Also, everyone knows that the value proposition often presented is full retail, high rack, total highest price you could pay for something is added into this total lump sum. So they look at the value of the actual package itself. Is it what I want? And if so, am I willing to bid on it? So you get this auction fever that goes on, which is always a lot of fun. And unique packages create unique interest, because if you put some pretty cool stuff together that doesn't normally go together, the value isn't in the dollar value as it is in the uniqueness of all those things being combined. Like, oh, you get on a private jet, they'll whisk you in a Bentley, they bring you over to the resort where you go to the spa thing, and that's not normally something you can buy from the resort, but because you put it as a package, it makes it very interesting. So the idea that auctions can be an incentive, because people's mindset right now is, what can I get for somebody or myself that is something that I'm willing to spend the money on? It's this time of year is this mindset for this. So auctions are fun like that. So flash sales, auctions, progressive communications. Progressive communication is about knowing when last they engaged with you so that you don't repeat yourself on the next engagement. And that requires a good amount of tracking that we understand now. Facebook, Meta, just made the announcement that they are going to, not now, but soon, change the filtering capabilities, the targeting capabilities on their platform, diminish them for certain aspects of things that marketers now could use, like ethnicity, religious preference, and so forth, that in my mind are long overdue, that aren't necessary components for what I do for marketing, but they've allowed it to be used on their platform. Will it diminish our ability to market targeting wise? For what I do, no. I don't use those targets. I've never had an interest in using those targets. Those targets mean nothing to me as to what I'm selling for hotels. But again, diminishment of tools means that there's a likelihood it'll affect some things. The ability to determine what they last engaged with you on to know what to offer them next is really in the realm of what's called retargeting. Retargeting is taking what you've touched and then finding another way of putting it back in front of you again. So if I went to your website and did whatever I did, looked for whatever I looked, and then left your website, there would be aspects of what you are represented in available spaces and other websites I would go to, because I touched and was tracked having touched your website as I went to other places. As we've had many discussions on the live show over the course of this whole year, really almost, is that third-party tracking is being diminished. Apple, iOS platforms in particular, started with iOS 14, now and iOS 15, are trying to allow you control over what you are willing to share as data about what you do with the platforms that you touch. Google was on board with that too, until they decided to waylay their timetables and say it'll be later on before they go and enforce all this, because it was taking too much money out of their pockets. This ability to track where you go from one position to another has been the bread and butter of marketing for decades now. 2 decades, kind of ish, almost 2 decades. And so with its diminishment means that we have to assume more. So it's going to get harder for us to know that you saw our ad number 1, which was this is what we have, to ad number 2, which is this is why you need it, because you already now are aware of what we have. So now we need to give you the value proposition, compared to ad number 3, which is, well, you know what it is and you know why you need it. This is how you get it. Those transitional points of progressive communication are because we know where you've touched our content before, we know what the next content should be offered to you. That's going to get a little harder, and that's going to come more from what's called first party contact, which is because you come to my website once, when you come back to my website, I will be able to identify you to know not to show you this piece of content that was what you first saw, but now show you this piece of content, which is the next thing you should see. So this dynamic content insertion to first party contact data will become a critical component. Flat out, a lot of hotels aren't built like this. Flat out, a lot of businesses aren't built like this. They don't have this adaptive content in their websites. There's some really neat programs out there like If So, that allow for generated content to be put in place based upon who you are when you come back to the website. That rely on first-party cookies, meaning I had to go to your website to even be known when I came back the second time. What it does limit in future tense is when I go to my website versus then going to another website and then coming back to my website is, I don't know what you did over there. I don't know what you saw over there to know whether or not I need to change what you're seeing here. That third-party conversation of content data is what's being diminished in an aggressive way. I find it very interesting that, in a way, Facebook and other platforms outside of Google or Apple were downplaying the impact of Apple. Like, well, Apple only represents, this percentage of your business. And I thought it was very short-sighted that they only looked at the volume of iOS platforms compared to Android platforms. Android platforms, hands down, dominant iOS platform, dominant operating system platform. iPhones, however, represent a dominant part of the demographics of spendable income, which is an impact that goes beyond it's just your number of metrics. Its actual impact is on the fact of those that own that iOS platform, that operating system platform, inherently have an income level variant enough, not always, as general, that negatively impact in a larger proportion than its numbers, the amount of revenues being generated or spent on different things. So it has had a very strong impact on the analytics and traffic information numbers associated with purchases on a third-party cookie, because Apple iOS, and these are people that have decided that they don't want to be allowing things to track through Apple iOS, that now they have to assume what the impact of that transaction was because they're not allowed to track it via third party as much as they used to, and that is the referral traffic information. So again, going back to the holiday time this year, this need to refine the progression of conversation. Nobody likes starting at square one. Picture this. You've seen an ad. You like what it says. It's saying, click here to find out more. And then you click on it. Okay, you got me. I want to know more. You click on it. And it brings you to a website that you got to start looking for what brought you here. Like, where's that offer you were telling me about that if I clicked it, I would know more about? Where is that? And if I can't find it within a period of seconds, literally handful seconds, I'm gone. I'm like, that didn't work out, and I've lost them. So it has to be relevant. So the ad goes now to a page that says, here's the information that we told you about. If you clicked on it, we'd give you. Here it is. Great. Now I leave. I say, okay, I got the information. That's great. Now, day or two passes, like, wow, I like that thing. Let me go back and get it again, or let me go look at it again. I want to get more information. Now, all of a sudden, I see the same ad I just saw the first time going, okay, I got that. I understand. That's why I was wanting to go click the button. What else can you tell me now? I've already done what you told me to do. Why can't you tell me more about why I'm interested in this? Because obviously, I already clicked on your little button before. Why can't you tell me more? That's that progressive conversation, that progressive content that is necessary for a good conversion funnel. Now, funnel and workflow shouldn't be interchangeable, but I tend to use them that way. Funnels are a progression of diminished volume to a singular point, ZMOT, so a moment of transaction, compared to a funnel, which is a progression of conditional statements that drive you to a point of decision, again, ZMOT. They function in an asimilar way in the sense that there is a progression of diminishment of engagement, but they don't function the same in the way that they handle it. Funnel is attrition. Workflow is progression. Workflow is, if I put what is supposedly correct in front of you, you're going to go in the direction that I want you to go into to continue the dialogue, not to dead end and have to go into the retroactive reminder phase. I want to keep you in a progression towards transaction. Funnel wants the same thing. I start with X number of people. I hope that the information is relevant enough that you continue wanting to know more information. I hope that then the information is usable for what you're thinking most interested in doing, to the point that you're wanting to acquire what it is that I'm talking about. The same progress happens in the sense of diminishment of engagement, but the methodology of it is more by inference than it is by progression. Progression is putting correct information in front, which goes back to my dialogue of progressive communication. You want to think of more of your marketing strategy in a workflow environment. How do I get you to the next level of engagement? What is it that I have to provide as content and or options and or value for you to want to then go that direction in the engagement with me, rather than in this direction of I'm not certain yet, or I'm unsure, or I'll get back, or maybe I won't, or I want out. That workflow discussion is probably the more smartest things you do, to sit on a board and literally create, saying, this is what we want them to do. Here's the end here. We want them to stay in our hotel. And we want them to specifically stay in our hotel at a certain time, whether it's a holiday-based event, or whether it's a time zone event based on holidays, or whether it's a demographic interest, like shopping and or holiday events, or I already said events, sorry, or other reasons for travel based on your location. Let's just pick event, okay? Thanksgiving. So I want them to stay during Thanksgiving. All right, one step back. What is it that's going to make them do that? Well, we have to have inventory availability. Well, what are we selling? Well, rooms. Okay. What else are we selling? Well, we're selling gift certificates. Great. Okay. What else are we selling? You list the product that's going to make them do what it is you want them to do. Then from there, you go back and say, so what would bring them to wanting to stay with us? Well, they have to be aware of us. Okay. So how are they going to be aware of us? Well, they need to understand what kind of rooms we have. I mean, do they need kitchenettes? We don't have kitchenettes. So let's not have that. That's a progression backwards in a workflow. That eventually brings you to a campaign strategy of what it is you need to offer, how you need to offer it, on what channels you need to offer it, to what demographics you're interested in offering it, which then goes into what we've discussed on the live show many times, and that is persona marketing. Who are we selling to? Who is traveling with us for Thanksgiving? What family demographics, geographic location? What are they interested in doing? And those definitions create the content that creates the strategy, that creates the modality for the conversions. That's the flow. So going to holidays and going for holidays for hospitality, we're faced with very strong event-driven points. We have certain aspects of this time of year. Now, for those that do not know or have not been aware of or did not look at this, Hanukkah is different this year. Hanukkah is very close to Thanksgiving. It's almost immediately after Thanksgiving. It's not really related closer to Christmas. It is more related to Thanksgiving. How is that gap point between the transitions of interest? Because you don't have to be Jewish to celebrate Hanukkah. Hanukkah influences families because of their friends, because of their families and affiliations with different religions. You have different reasons of engagement out of this process that aren't just the simple, I celebrate this holiday versus that holiday. Think of our Canadian friends and family and Boxing Day compared to Christmas, between Thanksgiving that they have in October versus the Halloween versus the Thanksgiving we have in the US. All of these things have influences. Now, obviously, Thanksgiving for October was different this year compared to our Thanksgiving this year in the US, because they weren't able to exercise non-essential travel to the US as easily as they are now. So you have a whole influx of holiday differences this year compared to last year. And you say, well, in 2019 we had international travel, so no big deal. It is a big deal because of pent-up interest and demand for those that could not travel for not being non-essential, okay, that now can. the pandemonium and bedlam associated with getting people with the visa requirements and the paperwork requirements and the vaccination requirements. Think of all of those layers of demand for people that they have to go through. Plus also, and this is something we've had in previous podcasts, we discussed lightly on the last episode that we actually offer as a service to our clients, and that is, what happens if the test comes back positive? You have to take a test before you can fly. You have to take a test before you go in or out of the country. And everyone has different conditions and requirements and so forth, which, where do you find that information? Is your hotel providing that information? What happens if the test goes positive? What happens to the rates for your room? Is there rooms available? What are the conditions where else can you stay? How do you get fed? Is there quarantine requirements? Is there isolation requirements? Everything's different. Well, that needs to be detailed and laid out in a very clear and concise way so that you do not find out that I have a guest that we're oversold. They need to stay because they're quarantined. Now, we don't have quarantine facilities. We don't have food facilities. They need to know. They're asking us questions of what to do next. And all I can do is tell them that our rack rate is this. And I don't, you don't have to call Uber for food or DoorDash for something. These things need to be thought through. But the cool part of that is if you do think through them and you have them laid out, it's a wicked service sales tool, because now you can rise above all your other competitors by saying, we can answer those questions for you. Here's the content for you. This is exactly how we handle this. This is how we would charge you. This is our availability or guarantee. Some places, clients that we have actually charged to have this assurance program. It says, hey, look, if you don't want to worry about this, then we can have you pay extra to say, if this does happen, if a test does go positive before you travel back out of country or something like this, whatever the requirements you have for this, this is how we would negotiate your rate. So this is your guaranteed rate. This is how we facilitate your food and beverages and your laundry and all this other stuff. So points to ponder and things to think. So I do hope that I stress the fact that if you haven't already gone over and tackled the perspective of how this holiday season is going to impact your business, this is a long overdue conversation you need to quickly up to speed with. We are but a couple of brief weeks away from our first major test of the change in our holiday season for Thanksgiving. For that, it's going to have an impact on a variety of things. Length of stay, I think, is going to be a critical one. ADR, of course, will be an impact to that, as also the distance and durability of a person's travel and what they're going to do while they're there with you. And the more you can provide content and context to their travel, the more valuable an option you will have to them, the more reasonable they will have to go, reason to stay with you, and the more endearing you can have with them in a long-term relationship. Then that goes into the conversation of gift certificates, offering them the gift of travel with you to family members that they can say, I stayed at that hotel. It's a great hotel. And I would love it for you to go over and take the chance to go down there and stay as well. That's an awesome thing. Obviously, if multi-unit hotels in your portfolio, this gives you a huge opportunity to cross-sell. Hey, if you love us, go there. We have another option for you. If you want to be here, but we have a great place over there, get them on your lists of things that you can engage them with. And of course, being a gift certificate person, you have every excuse in the world to consistently communicate with them because they already have a product investment to you. They already have given you money to go over and have a future value for. So of course they want to open up opening rates. Opening rates for gift certificate dialogue is very, very good and very positive. And it gives you a great excuse to dialogue on more than one thing, like good reasons for them to travel, reasons for them to buy more gift certificates, reasons, value redemptions to redeem their gift certificates. It gives you more frequency and more perpetual dialogue with people. So think of all the options, anything from auctions to flash sales, value propositions, progressive communication, all these things we touched on a little bit in these past few minutes. And we hope that they are a benefit to you in your consideration for what you do for the holidays. So that, I want to keep it within the hour. I know I've kind of wandered and meandered through the hotel, hospitality, holiday variations and expectations. I think it is going to be a profoundly interesting holiday season, barring any more unsustained tragedies or unexpected tragedies that we've had to suffer through these past year and a half plus. I truly hope that everyone has a joyous and wonderful holiday period, as little stress as possible, and to appreciate and value each and every one of us because of tragedies that have happened in people's families and lives from all of this and the pandemic. And as hoteliers, we are a heart of the servant. to provide service and hospitality to those that wish to use our hotels or restaurants. This is a wonderful chance to reconnect for the purpose of our industry, for those that need it, to connect with our team members, to value what they do, and not be abusive to this meritorious system that we've existed in years prior to this, that we perhaps can now finally equate some value proposition to the quality of life that our team members have to share as well. I hope all of these things come true. So with that, thank you. I appreciate everyone that's watching us on simulcast for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, on multiple channels for it. As always, we thank those that watch us on TV, on our TV channel, Hospitality Channel TV. If you'd like to watch us on your TV, the live show, this is always free on our channel, and that is at Hospitality Channel TV, and you can do that on Roku, Apple TV, Google TV, and Amazon Prime, Apple TV, or Amazon, Kindle sticks and so forth. Plus, also, we're on all of your iOS platforms, on Apple iOS, so your phones and iPads and tablets and everything else, Android as well. And we also are simulcasting on Twitch, which puts us on your PlayStations and Xboxes as well. So hopefully, I think we've covered pretty much all the bases. We also do a weekly podcast, audio-only podcast, that does a quick recap of this show, plus very specifically tools and functions. So you'll hear me talk about specific tools about some of these things, in addition to techniques of things. And that I'll be recording shortly after this. And we'll reflect on the show as well for that. So with that, the show, you can always find replays 24/7 at hospitalitychannel.tv. That's online. That's our 24/7 TV channel on internet. But if you would like to sign up for our TV channel, which has a subscription service much like Netflix and so forth, we're accumulating great content that's behind the $4.99 a month subscription. You can join us at talktravel.tv. That's the web version of the channel. But go to your Roku, go to your Google TV, Amazon, and Apple, and just simply search for channel for Hospitality Channel, and you will find us. So with that, my name is Lauren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time, and I look forward to talking to you all